Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel Tech Server Global. Hope you guys doing well. Today our topic is Docker volume, bind mount and persistent storage. And this video is a part of our Kubernetes series. I understand that many of you guys little bit surprised that why Docker volume is a part of the Kubernetes series because to understand the volume and storage concept in Kubernetes, we have to be clear concept of volume storage in Docker. So I wish I can clear your refreshment from the Docker series. As I have created such video on Docker series as well. So I prefer to include this video as a part of Kubernetes. So let's start with Docker volume. In this video, we are going to cover such topics like Docker layer architecture, what are the volume driver, what are storage driver, how create a Docker volume and attach to into container and Docker volume bind mount. So let's start with layered architecture. So before layer architecture concept we included that way, better to start with very scratch scenarios. So why we actually require storage and why we cannot use the Docker images directly without having the storage, and what's the limitation for not using the storage? Okay, so whenever you install a Docker and when you create such container, so Docker container are lightweight and fast, but their storage is temporary. For example, let's take an example. I'm creating one container Docker run hyphen p 80 colon 80 hyphen name and web nginx latest, and I'm attached into, so I'm detaching the running that particular container in backend and attach with the, okay. So let's validate whether the container is up and running or not. So yes, nginx latest with the name called web is up and running, and it's actually mount, or we can say bind with port 80. So if I try to browse localhost on port 80, it should work. So yes, so it shows the welcome to nginx, right? So it might be surprised that how this particular image comes to, or how this particular page is comes to in screen. What, where is the content? So content is actually within the container. So let's log in with the, I'm logging into the container web slash bin slash bash. If you simply say bash, it should work. If you put only sh, then it also work. Okay, so now I'm within the container. USR local, it should be leap. Where's the default? Oh, USR share GNX HTML. Okay, so this is the path of the default home directory of nginx, and let's say get index.html. So here you can see the welcome to nginx is defined, right? Let's try to change welcome to tech server global, and I'm simply change the, okay, without exist. I'm just refreshing, so the content is changed. Now probably if I simply exit this and docker ps, let's simply docker container stop web. I'm simply stopping the container. Okay, docker ps hyphen a. So here you can see web container currently in stop state. Let's start again. Okay, now let's try to browse. Here you can see the content is set. Okay, so as far as if you create the container, if you stop and if you start, then content will be same. Why? Because currently container is in exited, it running state, but when you stop it, it currently on that particular time duration it was on stop state, and basically it's stored, it stayed in this particular directory var lib docker, where you can see different folders structure: build kit, containers, image, or network overlay, many more, right? And simple if I let's say docker ps docker inspect container web. So here you can see all the details about the container, and in this particular inspect, you will get all the details regarding merge directory, upper directory, work directory, lower directory, many more things. Okay, all the details regarding container you will get here from here. Okay, so our base image directory is this resolve path warlib containers, this hostname path, it's warlib docker container, and this is our docker container, the id for to understand from the host path. Okay, let's say if I delete this particular container, docker container rm web, sorry, desktop web and rm. Okay, now again I'm trying to run same command which I had used to run nginx status with the same name, web. Now try to browse it. So the content is changed. Why? Because as far as I remove the container, it will clear all the content which stored temporarily in var lib docker directory. Okay, so this is somehow we required volume to persist the data. Okay, so again, as I mentioned earlier, docker container are lightweight, but their storage is temporary. If I somehow my container has been crashed and somehow it's deleted, then the content will be removed. When a container stop or it's removed, the data it is also been deleted. To solve the Docker provide persistent storage mechanism including volume, bind mounts, and TMPS. Okay, so here there are some folder structures. This here the folder and a purpose. overlay, image layer, container, file systems, containers, volumes, image contain the image metadata and layer. For example, if you first time download any image, it will trying to identify from the local storage. If it won't be there, then it's directly download from the Docker hub, and it's stored in Docker images. Network config plugins, Swarm, TMP, Trust, and Builder. So these are the folder structure which is in var lib Docker directory. To understand the Docker storage, we need to understand layer architecture, how Docker store and how image is built. When Docker image is built, it in layer architecture. So to understand, if here you can see, if I need to, let me zoom this particular. So if you can see, there are two Docker files. In first Docker file, here you can see from Ubuntu. It downloads from the Ubuntu image. It runs some command. Again, it runs some pip, Python based command. Copy the source code and entry point. To run the application, it run the command with entry point. When you build this particular file using Docker build, Docker file or hyphen t, tag, or any of the your image name, it creates some image with size. For example, layer 1 is from Ubuntu, means it trying to download Ubuntu image, and this image size will be, let's say, 120 MB. Change in apt update, some image, as it's the command is apt get update, apt get install Python. So it trying to update the packages and install the Python packages. So size of the particular that layer is little bit big as compared to other. Changes in Python, it simply install Python package with Flask and Flask MySQL. Then copy the file, copy something uploaded from that particular directory to slash opt source. Because if I don't down upload the source code or changes, then default whatever uploaded it in default container image will get all the data similar to the content whatever in image. Then we have entry point, updated the entry point, it's having simple, it's run the application. Okay, so once this particular all the layers has been created and built, okay, it will create some image, right? So here all the layers are in read only format. Because why it's so known as read only? Because all the things been not been changed automatically, we are not supposed to be changed, all the things will be in read format. So when you create the image using Docker build, it will create a new layer called container layer. So after using all this layer, it will create a new layer called layer 6, and it will be writable layer store for the storage log. What are the use case for storage layer 6? So it will store log, temporary, or any other file managed by the temporary user. Likewise, we download the nginx, we create one container, we change any existing directory, and then we'll rerun that particular images. So we create that particular container, we change some echo with the name, and it's stored in that particular storage. So that is some temporary storage. But as far as if I drop that particular container and rebuild that particular container with existing image, it will override the existing changes. So now you will get the new content or the same content like welcome to nginx. It is not a part of the image. Okay, so layer 6 is also known as a temporary because the life of the container only till the container run. As soon as stop or data will be lost. Okay, so it will like this way. This one is image layer app.py, and then its container layer like temp.php, sorry, temp.txt. So whenever the changes been occurred, for when container is up and running, it's stored in read write layer. If we map app.py contain layer, it will create an image in the read write layer. As far as container will rebuild, the data in container layer will be removed. So to keep the data consistent even after rebuild, container need to use storage. So if I need to keep change app.py in real time or any storage, likewise if I take to example, then I can take database, because database is something is change very frequent, within moment it change. So as far as database content is being applied, it should not be like temporary storage, it should be permanent, and it should be at a way that it never been changed, because database is something will change the records in database is more gradually than files of any configuration. So it should be in a location where we can keep as a safe, as well as data should be consistent even after rebuild. We cannot, it should not be changed. Okay. So here I can here there is option called docker volume. Okay, we need to create docker volume. It will a part of the var lib docker and volume directory. So let me try to create one docker volume. Before that, I'm within the docker var lib docker directory, and I'm navigating to run the volumes. Okay, so cd volumes. Here you can see there are few directories are there. So docker volume help, sorry, hyphen help. So to list, we need to run command docker volume ls. I thought it was list. So there are three currently volume is there, and all here you can see the driver is local. We will talk about the driver, but currently the driver is a local. Okay. So now I'm creating one docker volume, and the command is docker volume create, and the name of the, let's say, taste underscore volume. Okay, again ls. So taste underscore volume is a local driver, and name of the volume is taste volume. Okay, taste volume. Here you can see only underscore data is there. Okay, now let me try to run command docker ps. Let me remove docker container stop web. Okay, and let me container rm. Okay, okay. Here the option to bind the volume is hyphen v, and the name of the volume volume name is taste underscore volume colon the path of the within the container. Let's say I'm going to apply in /tmp. Okay, now first I'm applying uh, docker exec, sorry, hyphen it web, sorry, slash bin slash bash. Okay, and I'm just navigating to tmp, and I'm run some folder, creating some folder, and touch one, paste file.txt. Okay, here I can see some files. So let me exit. If I say ls, there are some directories. Sorry, I changed my keyboard, so still it's not that much adjusted. So here you can see the content is same. Okay, now if I stop, or I can see if I create a new container, let's say create a new container with new name, uh, where it, yes, web 1, and yes, okay. So here, sorry, port is been there, just I'm changing to port 81. Okay, it's web 2. Now it shows the web 1 is already there. Okay, so docker ps, so web 2 is there, right? Now let me log in into web 2. Okay, and I'm just navigating to slash tmp. So here, using docker volume, you can map same data in multiple container without any uh, overlay of your data, and if you change anything it will impact on both because it's linked with multiple container. Somehow if both the container has been deleted, docker container stop web container, okay, and rm, okay, docker ps hyphen a, okay, seems data is still there. So it's not like when you remove the container it also impact the existing data. The data should be there because it is created under volume. Okay, so in this way you can create a volume, and most common use cases is all about the database and many more things. It's not only about we only use volume in database, but many more scenario is there. Whenever you require to persist your data, you can use docker volume, right? It is something we can apply same content. Let's say if I create some storage, okay, let me create in this way, docker, this is something, let's say I am going to change the volume name. Taste to underscore volume is not there. My prior docker volume is taste underscore volume, but in this scenario it's taste 2. So what happened, let me exit from this directory. I'm just ls hyphen lh. So here you can see taste 2 underscore volume has been created. So when you run this such command where volume is not exist, it will automatically create the volume with the name, and it bind with the directory which is present in within the container. So it's not compulsory that first you need to create volume and then you need to bind it to existing container. Okay, so using v you can mount the bind with the existing folder. Okay, so this is something about the external folder. For example, if I have some external folder and that I need to attach to the Docker container. Okay, so let me exit. Let's have home, hard, desktop, taste is there, right? So here you can see the two files are there. I need to attach this directory within the container. Okay, so let me, it's a data, I'm just changing the name, and path is, let me copy paste the path, slash home slash harpal slash desktop slash taste. I need mount taste directory in temp, and I'm simply changing the port number. Let's remove the p because I don't require anything. Okay, let's say docker ps docker, sorry, exec hyphen it uh, data slash bin slash bash. Okay, and I'm just navigating to slash tmp. So here you can see Dockerfile and hello.txt is there. So because it's a part of the directory, it's mapped with the folder within the container. So either you can mount Docker volume or you can mount the existing folders in container. Okay. So in this way we can run the container. Here you can see Docker volume slash volume MySQL data, or you can put slash data and uh, see both having, this is something called volume and this is something called directory. Okay, storage driver. But before we move to storage driver, let me show you some layered architecture concept. So this is something Docker file which I have been created, not this one. Cd test, yeah, this one. Cat Docker file. So here you can see the Docker file consists node 18 alpine slash app copy I mean the directory, run yarn install production command, node and source src node, sorry, index.js, and expose on port number 3000. So this is the Docker file which I included in the source code of the node. It is based on node. So let me run the image, or let's say docker build hyphen t, let's say node 18 taste and dot. So it will build overall image on the basis of layered architecture. So first it run the context of layer 1 from node 18, then it actually pull the image, right? Then it went to step 2, work this, and also it defined the size. So when you say image is all about this much size, it's not only about one layer. There are multiple layers which include the multiple sizes. Let's web app. It's install yarn. So each layer is included their particular separate uh, layer, and that particular layer actually creating that particular whole image. Okay, so if I say docker image ls, sorry, image ls. So I just, this is something image, and it is about 219 MB, and I'd say history. So it shows the docker image and within size. Yarn install production is something 85. So like copy docker, it's all about 38 byte this. So it's basically multiple layer created your image, and this is called actual layer architecture, which we had discussed over here. Okay, and the final segment is all about docker storage driver. So there are different types of storage driver, and storage driver is responsible for maintain the layer architecture, creating the right layer, moving files across the different layer. So here you can see UFS, ZFS, BTR, drive, device mapper, overlay, overlay 2. Likewise, the storage driver, there is volume driver as well. So these are the particular storage driver. Okay, and likewise the storage driver, we do have uh, likewise we have the storage driver, we do have volume driver. Like we create, whenever when we created volume, right, where we have the type called local. We can also use Azure files type, Conway, DigitalOcean, Raxray, EBS storage. We can use VMware storage, DigitalOcean, and many more. Okay, so if I just say Docker volume, so here you can see driver is something called local, and inspect test 2 underscore volume. So it shows the driver called label, name is test2, and scope is local. So using inspect, you can get the details of all the things. Okay, and var lib docker. Okay, so here you can see overlay 2 directories there, and you will get all the required storage driver details over here. Here you can see overlay 2. Currently we have applied with overlay 2, and it is responsible to maintain the layer architecture, creating the right layer, moving the file across the different layers. So what we have seen, to map the file between the read and write layer of the image and container layer, it is being managed by the container within container storage driver. In our scenario, it's overlay 2. Also use, likewise we have storage driver. With volume driver we can manage the storage like local, Azure, Conway, and many more. So somehow if I need to use EBS, I can use EBS. If I need to use Azure, I can use. So overall storage driver is responsible to manage the storage, as our content is in local disk, so it's our local storage. So hope this video find, and I tried my best to cover all the content for Docker persistent storage, and hope I'm at least being there to achieve your requirement. Thank you for watching this video. Keep subscribe the channel, and keep share this video and like the channel. And thank you so much for watching this video. Have a great day.